Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. Follow the show on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. I am also on Cash App and Venmo at The Joey Harris if you want to just send me a little money. No amount is too small and no amount is too large. And of course, patreon.com/babykangaroomedia for bonus episodes of the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show, the Joey Harris Super Show, the Green Room, the Book Club Baristas, Mug Life episodes, and so much more. Just $5 a month for hours of extra content. And folks, right at the start here, my brain was just on scramble, I guess, the last episode, because I said that we were in the middle of June, and I'm talking about now we were in the middle of July, or the start of July, rather. But it was in July when I was recording the episode, and still in July now. Now we're headed towards the middle of July, and I just wanted to send out best wishes and speedy recovery to Seth Rollins and Adam Cole. Both appear to be out and injured. Adam Cole for sure, and Seth Rollins, it appeared that he hurt his knee during his match with LA Knight at Saturday night's main event. So our best wishes go out to both of those wrestlers. As today we look at the 1995 Great American Bash from WCW. The Great American Bash 1995 was shown on pay-per-view on June the 18th, 1995 from the Hare Arena in Dayton, Ohio. There were 6,000 in attendance. Matches shown on the main event before the pay-per-view were Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry defeated the Fantastics, Bobby Fulton and Tommy Rogers. Sergeant Craig Pittman defeated Scott D'Amore. Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck with Colonel Robert Parker defeated Frankie Lancaster and Barry Houston. We then get our intro. Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan welcome us to the Great American Bash. They talk about the main event. Brian Pillman versus Alex Wright. Pillman gets a great reaction being from Ohio. Wright gets a good reaction as well. The bell rings and they circle each other. They trade wrist locks. They exchange holds and counters. Pillman hits a drop kick. He follows it up with a hammer lock. Wright comes back with a drop kick and a head scissors. Pillman with a side headlock. Wright with another head scissors. Pillman with a crossbow. He follows it up with a side headlock takeover. Back and forth. Wright with a Boston Crab. He botches a surfboard attempt, but modifies it. Wright with a roll up for a 2 count, and Pillman slaps him. Pillman with an armbar into a hammerlock. Wright pushes Pillman outside. He drags Wright out and chops him. He then gets him in and chops him in the corner. Wright runs Pillman into the canvas. Pillman gets his knees up on a splash and then kicks Wright. Pillman chops Wright again. Pillman with the body scissors and a chin lock. Pillman gets a 2 count. Wright dropped on the top rope. Wright suplex to the outside from the apron. Wright hits a baseball slide and hits the suicide dive on Pillman. He throws Pillman in and hits a missile drop kick for a 2 count. Pillman ducks a shot and Wright falls outside and Pillman hits a suicide dive. He misses a dive from the apron and hits the barricade. Pillman ducks a splash attempt and there's a double count going. Pillman puts Wright on the top rope. Wright front face locks Pillman off and hits a crossbody for a 2 count. Pillman collapses on 2 Irish whip attempts. Pillman drop kicks Wright as Wright comes off the top rope and gets a 2 count. Wright throws Pillman off the turnbuckle onto the ropes. Wright with a bridge for a 2 count. Wright gets a roll up to get the pin. They embrace after the match. That was a fantastic match to start the show. Flashback to what led to the arm wrestling match. Mean Gene Okerlund talks to Dave Sullivan. They talk about the consequences of the match. Arm wrestling challenge. A date with the Diamond Doll versus Ralph the Rabbit. Diamond Dallas Page with the Diamond Doll and Max Muscle versus Dave Sullivan with Ralph. DDP says Sullivan should give up, but Sullivan is ready. DDP stalls. They start, and it is even at first. DDP tries to cheat, but loses to Sullivan. He and Max blame the Diamond Doll. Mean Gene talks to DDP. He says he didn't lose and wants a do-over. Jim Duggan versus Craig Pittman. The crowd is into Duggan. Pittman is intense. They lock up and break. Back and forth. Duggan with a hip toss. He gets a USA chant going. Pittman with a wrist lock. Duggan reverses it. Pittman goes for a clothesline. Duggan ducks, and Pittman spills to the outside. Pittman gets Duggan down. He rips Duggan's knee pad off and runs the leg into the ring post. He then does the other leg. They brawl on the mat. Pittman with a leg lock. Duggan with a big right hand. Pittman takes Duggan back down. Duggan keeps getting out. Duggan is fighting bravely, but he is hurt. He Irish whips and slams Pittman. He hits a 3-point stance, but Pittman takes Duggan down. Pittman gets the code red on, but Duggan gets to the ropes. Pittman won't let go and gets disqualified. Duggan goes after Pittman with the 2x4. Mean Gene talks to the Blue Bloods. Steven Regal puts down the Nasty Boys. I always enjoyed the Blue Bloods. Flashback to what led to the next match. The Stud Stable, Bunkhouse Buck and Dick Slater with Colonel Robert Parker versus Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray with Sister Sherry. They brawl as soon as Harlem Heat get into the ring. The Stud Stable bails out to regroup with Parker. Slater and Stevie start. They lock up and Stevie slams Slater. All four briefly in. Buck and Booker tagged in. Buck with an eye rake. Booker with the early advantage. Stevie tagged in. He gets Buck down and gets a front face lock on. Booker in and hits a drop kick. Slater tagged in and got a drop toe hold on Booker. Booker gets Slater in the corner and tags Stevie in. Stevie with a snap mare. He gets a rear chin lock on. Booker tagged in. Buck in and Booker slams him and hits a flying forearm. Slater tagged in. They get him in the corner and Stevie tagged in. They trade shots. Buck tagged in. The Stud Stables double team Stevie. They throw Stevie out and run him into a ring post. Back in, Buck with a big boot to Stevie. He gets a 2 count. Stevie with a shoulder block. He tags Booker, who cleans house. All four in again. In the melee, Booker rolls Buck up, but Parker comes in and turns Buck over on Booker. Sherry comes in and rolls Booker back, and Harlem Heat gets the pin. Flashback to Hulk Hogan's confrontation with Vader on the main event. Nick Bockwinkel comes out. He was attacked by Vader during the confrontation. He gets confused as to the name of the next pay-per-view. Check out Tony and Bobby's reaction here. It is hilarious. Start at 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 30 seconds on the Peacock feed. Bockwinkel announces a cage match between Vader and Hogan for Bash at the Beach. Mean Gene talks to Ric Flair. He talks about what he just heard. He then calls out Randy Savage. He says he will prevail in his match against Savage tonight. WCW World Television Championship match. Arn Anderson versus the Renegade with Jimmy Hart. Renegade out first. He is intense. Anderson comes out looking confident. He makes referee Nick Patrick get the Renegade back so he can get in. The belt is presented. The bell rings. Anderson attacks Renegade. Renegade with a clothesline. He then hits a series of clotheslines. Anderson falls out to the floor. Renegade comes out and Anderson gets in. Renegade with a side headlock. Anderson tries to push off and Renegade won't let go. Anderson pushes off and Renegade hits a shoulder block. Renegade goes back to the side headlock. Anderson comes back with an abdominal stretch. Renegade counters with one of his own. Anderson comes back and hits an enziguri. Renegade no-sells it, and Anderson rolls out to regroup. They lock up again. Anderson with a back elbow. He gets a sleeper on Renegade. Renegade gets his own sleeper on Anderson. Anderson with a belly-to-back suplex. Anderson chokes Renegade on the top rope. He puts the chin lock on Renegade. He hits a spine buster for a 2 count. The crowd chants DDT. Renegade with an atomic drop. The men collide and both are down. Anderson goes up top, but gets caught with a fallaway slam. Renegade gets a top rope splash to get the pin and become the new television champion. They show the Giant in the crowd. He stands and looks at Jimmy Hart and the Renegade and reaches out to Hart as they pass him to leave. Flashback to what led to the next match. Mean Gene then interviews the Nasty Boys. Brian Knobbs says everyone wants their titles. Jerry Saggs says no one from England is going to take them down at the Great American Bash. WCW World Tag Team Championship match. The Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Saggs versus the Blue Bloods, Steven Regal and Robert Eaton. The Nasty Boys come out looking determined. The crowd loves the Nasty Boys. They beat the Blue Bloods with their jackets. They brawl on the outside. Saggs runs Regal into the barricade. Knobbs runs Eaton into the apron. Saggs corner clotheslines Regal. Nasty Boys double team Regal in their corner. They hit the pit stop on Regal. Knobbs with a corner splash to Eaton and then gives Eaton the pit stop. Blue Bloods roll out to regroup. Then a nasty chant goes out. Saggs dominates Regal. He throws Regal out and Knobbs hits an elbow drop from the apron to Regal. They all brawl to the outside. Nasty Boys dominate the Blue Bloods. Sags headbutts Regal down low. Sags with a pump handle slam to Regal. Knobbs tagged in. Regal comes back with shots. Eaton tagged in. Eaton knocks Knobbs to the outside, and Regal drops an elbow on Knobbs. Regal tagged in. Blue Bloods get Knobbs in their corner. Regal gets a series of 2 counts on Knobbs. Regal with a series of knees to Knobbs. Eaton tagged in and misses a corner splash. Sags tagged in. He slams Eaton down. Regal throws Sags out over the top rope. Blue Bloods beat Sags down on the outside. Sags ran into the barricade. Knobbs checks on Sags. Eaton with a top rope knee drop to Sags for a 2 count. Eaton with a rear chin lock. Regal in with knees and European uppercuts to get a 2 count. He misses a splash attempt. Knobbs tagged in and got a slam. Both Knobbs and Regal down. Stevie Ray and Sister Sherry come out and distract referee Randy Anderson, allowing Booker T to hit a Harlem hangover to Knobbs. Booker then causes Eaton to lose his footing on the top rope. Sags hits a top rope elbow drop on Eaton and Knobbs covers to get the pin. This was a cluster. Flashback to highlights of the U.S. title tournament. Mean Gene interviews Parker and Meng. Parker says he didn't come up here to go home empty-handed. Tony and Bobby then discuss Hogan and Vader at Bash at the Beach, followed by a Bash at the Beach ad. Mean Gene then interviews Sting. He says he's ready for Colonel Parker and Meng. United States Championship Tournament Final. Sting versus Meng with Colonel Robert Parker. Meng comes out focused. Sting with a massive ovation when he comes out. The bell rings and they circle each other. Sting avoids Meng's strikes. They get face to face. Meng pounds Sting down in the corner. He chokes Sting down. Meng keeps up the attack. Sting keeps coming back. A dropkick doesn't knock Meng down. He rolls out to confer with Parker. Meng with a series of kicks. He beats Sting in the corner. Back and forth. Sting goes after Parker when he tries to interfere, but Meng hits Sting with a back elbow. Meng chokes Sting. Meng with a sit-out powerbomb for a 2 count. Meng with a shoulder breaker for a 2 count. Meng with a nerve hold. Meng throws Sting out, where Parker beats and kicks Sting. Back in, Sting goes for a sunset flip, but Meng hits a throat thrust to get the nerve hold on. Meng stomps Sting. Sting comes back with a flurry of offense. Meng with a flying headbutt for a 2 count. Meng goes for a slam, but Sting turns in midair for a 2 count. Sting with a big clothesline. Sting with a modified bulldog. Hits an atomic drop, and a clothesline sends both men outside. Meng hits the apron. Sting takes Parker out and runs Meng into a ring post. Sting puts the Scorpion Deathlock on. Meng breaks the hold, and Sting can't believe it. He clips Meng's leg. Sting with a clothesline from the top rope and then a splash for a 2 count. Sting with a jumping DDT to get the pin and become the new U.S. champion. They show the winner of a look-alike contest. Flashback to what led up to the main event, Randy Savage with Angelo Poffo versus Ric Flair. Mean Gene talks to Randy Savage. He says he is ready. He says Happy Father's Day to his dad and says he's going to take Ric Flair out. Flair out first to a mixed reaction. He does have his share of fans. Savage comes out and then waves Poffo out. They get a great ovation. Savage gets a chair for his dad. Savage attacks and charges a retreating Flair. Savage with a back elbow. He clotheslines Flair out and hits a double axe handle on Flair from the turnbuckle to the floor. He slams Flair down. Savage ran into a ring post. Savage ran into a barricade and then chopped. Savage beaten down by Flair. Savage thrown in. Flair with a snapmare. They vie for position. Savage beats on Flair in the corner. He chokes Flair with his boot. Flair begging off. Savage is relentless. Flair goes outside. Savage follows and knocks Flair down. Flair slammed off the top rope. Flair up and over to the floor. He starts to go after Poffo. Savage hits Flair. He goes to check on his father, only to get chopped by Flair. Savage dropped on the barricade leg first. Back in, Savage is still punching at Flair even though he can hardly stand. Savage knocked down again. He kicks Flair down. They go back out and Flair ran into the barricade. Back in, Flair puts the Fear 4 on Savage. Flair uses the ropes for leverage. Savage refuses to give up. He turns the move over. Flair breaks the hold. Savage keeps the attack up. Flair goes up top, but Savage moves. Back and forth, Flair does his up and over run the apron move, so take a shot if you're drinking at home. But Savage hits him as he comes off and gets a 2 count. Savage hits the elbow drop, but pulls Flair up before the 3 count. Savage grabs the ring belt. His eyes busted open. Savage goes for a double axe handle to Flair on the outside, but Flair moves and Savage hits the barricade. Flair attacks Savage on the outside. He chokes Savage. He goes after Poffo, who chokes Flair with his cane to the delight of the crowd. Flair knocks Poffo down and gets the cane. Savage checks on Poffo. Flair hits Savage with the cane when Savage gets in and gets the pin. A mixed crowd reaction. Flair gets out quickly. Poffo checks on Savage. They both get up. They show the end of the match. Savage and Poffo leave the arena. Tony and Bobby talk about what we just saw and talk about Bash at the Beach before signing off from Dayton. We then get our end credits. Final thoughts. The final 3 matches were great. This was a good show overall. You can follow me on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. We can also be found on Spotify and YouTube. Just search for the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show and don't forget to hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.